Calling all authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast, hosted by Robert A. Lane, is on the air, featuring everything you need to know about narrating your own audiobook. But it doesn't stop there. From special guests, including authors and professionals from the book industry, to sharing tools and techniques needed to be a confident and compelling narrator. The journey starts now. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
Yeah, glad you're here. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast, as you know, since you heard the introduction. I am Robert A. Lane. I am an audiobook coach and producer. I specialize in helping authors like yourself take that wonderful book that you've written and you've published. You put your heart and soul and life out there in the world to read. And now, as an entrepreneur, because you are, as an author brand, because you are, it is time to take it to the next level and turn your book into an audiobook. Turn it into an audiobook that you, the author, narrate yourself, because there is no one on this planet, and I will even go as far as saying there is no one in the universe that can narrate an audiobook better than you, because it's your story. Nonfiction especially. All nonfiction authors need to narrate your own audiobook, period. I stand behind that. I believe in that, and I am telling you that, yes, you as a nonfiction author, you do have what it takes to narrate your own audiobook. And now fiction authors, okay? I'm not excluding you guys. But you have what it takes to narrate your own audiobook too. And you should, if you're, you're just telling a story. And you're the one who wrote the story. You understand your characters. You know their backstory. You're the one who can explain it and narrate it and express it better than anybody else. So do it. All right. This episode, of course, I'm focusing on things that maybe you're not aware of that you can do when you're narrating your own audiobook. So some tips and little tricks and, I don't know. I don't like saying tricks and tips because it's not a trick. It's not a trick. It's just being a good narrator and doing things that will make the end product. Or remember, you got to be focused on what's happening and why you're doing this and who this is for, because the end product is the listener. The listener is the person who is going to be enjoying your audiobook, and you want to make sure that they have a fan-frickin-tastic experience from opening credits to closing credits. So some of the things, of course, which are obvious that you need to do is make sure you go over your book, you refamiliarize yourself with your book before you start recording, getting yourself reading whatever section you're going to record. Like I say, refamiliarizing yourself with your book so that you are just in it, right? You're in that zone, tapping into the why you wrote your book in the first place, because that energy is the same energy that you're bringing to the table when you are narrating your audiobook. Same thing. You got to be tapped into your why. So these are things that, you already know. Now, setting up your own recording space, making sure, from the technical side of things, making sure your mic placement is good. You're in a quiet space, no distractions. You're not in a room that sounds like you're in a cathedral hall or you're in a gymnasium or a bathroom. Not going to sound good, right? Not going to sound good. So, and again, these are things that you're already aware of, and the clients that I work with who go through my audiobook coaching program they're well aware of that. But there's one aspect that, and I'm going to start with the number one, because I'm not going to do this, number 10 is this, number 9 is that. Now let's get to the heart of the matter, because there's one thing that you can do when you are doing your audiobook narration that makes all the difference in the world. Because again, you're doing this to focus on the end product, as I mentioned earlier, the end product, which is the listener, having their experience being the best that it can possibly be. Now, when you write your book, you have your style of writing, the way you express yourself. And when you read a book, you can write it in a way where it's completely understandable. You can take some, maybe some linguistic, I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of. Where you can do things to make it more interesting as a read. And here's the thing, and this is the point. You can do the same when you're narrating your audiobook. So there's something that I want to share with you that's super important that will really make your audiobook sound great. All right. And this also falls into putting your own stamp on it, putting your own genuine, authentic self in your narration, because that is crucial. You want to be able to sound and express yourself as you. You are the author brand. You don't need to try to sound like somebody else or getting another narrator to do it for you. Why? It's your story. You have all the tools and skills to do it. You really do. Maybe you just need guidance. And that's why I do what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. So the technique or the tip that I want to share with you is you have the freedom to be able to alter what you've written in your book to make it a better experience for the listener. Because like I say, the way you wrote your book, when you're reading it, makes perfect sense. But if you narrate it verbatim, it just may not come across as well. Okay? And that's very, very important, especially for an audiobook. And that even starts with the very first thing that they hear and the very first thing that you would record, and that is your opening credits. Now, when you record your audiobook, there are 4 mandatory pieces that have to be in your opening credits. Pretty basic, and of course makes sense, which is something that a lot of you already know. And that is when you're recording your opening credits, you got to have, obviously, your title, your subtitle, if you have one, who it's written by, and who it's narrated by. 4 mandatory pieces, real simple. You can even just rattle them off, and there's your opening credits. You can also add other things to the opening credits, like published by, if you have your own publishing company, or, if you want to say edited by or whatever. But, opening it with your title, subtitle, who it's written by, who it's narrated by, that's crucial. Those are the mandatory pieces. But here's the thing, and this is where you can alter how you do your narration to make it a more enjoyable experience for the listener. And this is where you immediately put your unique stamp, your unique personality. And this is where you bring in all those intangibles. Your personality, your genuine authenticity, which is number 1, your sense of humor, your morals, your values, the way you were brought up, like all those things that represent your author brand. Those are the things that create who you are. That is expressed not only in your written word, but of course in your audiobook narration. So just get into it. Be you right at the top, because that's going to draw that listener in right away. They're going to say, I'm going to love listening to this book. So when I published my book, I have a book that's called Lights, Action, You. I published this back in 2022, obviously knowing that I was going to do the audiobook version, being an audio guy. But, and this book is about when I first started coaching, doing life coaching and career coaching. So this focuses on that aspect of the business before I started to do audiobook coaching and helping you and all you authors with your book and your audiobooks. But I want to use this as an example to show you how you can do your narration and make it sound so much more conversational, so much more authentic and sincere, and putting your stamp, your personality into it right off the top. Very important. Very important. Okay. So my book is called Lights, Action, You. My subtitle is The Guide to Master Your Mindset, Overcome Work Stress, and Regain Your Personal Freedom. It was written by me and it was narrated by me. Okay. So a lot of authors, and I've even heard this with audiobooks, that they just grab their book and they just kind of go through it verbatim. And it doesn't sound great because it sounds, just mechanical. Sometimes monotonous. Sometimes it just no energy, like there's no life into it. So if I did it that way, this is how you should not do your opening credits, okay? So, if I did it this way and I just read it verbatim, it'd be like this. Lights, Action, You. The Guide to Master Your Mindset, Overcome Work Stress, and Regain Your Personal Freedom. Written by Robert A. Lane. Narrated by Robert A. Lane. It's passable, but definitely not an enjoyable, exciting, energetic way to open your book. You want your listener to be on the edge of their seat right at opening credits. So put yourself into it, put your personality into it. That's what's going to lock them in. And that's what's going to make them go, oh, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's do this. And it does. It really does. It's subtle, little subtleties like that and how you approach your opening credits. And again, you do have the freedom to alter it for the audiobook so it is a more enjoyable experience for the listener. Always think about that. Always think about who is this for? It's for an audiobook listener. They're not there reading your book, right? They're probably driving or running or doing housework or wherever you're listening to your audiobook. So they're not really looking at the book unless they're sitting down in a coffee house with their headphones on and listening to it and following it along as in a paperback or whatever other format that they have your book in. And that's great too. I love that. And I do that too. But this is what you can do to make your audiobook sound a little bit more you, genuine, authentic, conversational, and more interesting for the listener. So instead of just reading it like I just did, you could do something like this and put more personality into it. Lights Action You, the guide to master your mindset, overcome work stress, and regain your personal freedom. Written and narrated by me, Robert A. Lane. Now, if I read it verbatim, right, written by Robert A. Lane, narrated by Robert A. Lane, robot, beep, beep, right? No, you don't do it that way. But just, you see, by just being yourself and doing it in a fashion that just makes it more conversational, draws the listener in. And that's really important because you want to develop that intimate connection between you and the listener. And that will do it. So if you put your personality into it right at the top, you've got them locked in. Okay. The other part that I want to show you or demonstrate for you is about things in your book that if you read it verbatim, it would work, but you can do it again by altering the way you say it for the audiobook. Now, yeah, when you're doing your audiobook, you do want to read your book pretty much verbatim of how you've written it so that people can follow along, or they know that it's not going to be so altered in such a way that it's not even the same book anymore, right? But you can change it to make it more enjoyable. And that, again, is the key factor, making sure that the listener is having the experience that is great for them in enjoying your audiobook, keeps them locked in. So I just open up my book. Here I'm looking at, open up to chapter 4, all right? Chapter 4, the chapter is called Ain't Talking About Brands. And with every chapter that I wrote in my book, Lights Action You, I do have a movie quote because I do share stories about my 30 plus years working in the entertainment industry and of course, relating those stories to some great tools and techniques which are great life and coaching and career coaching tools that you can utilize. But that's why I have movie quotes in there. Now, if I did this verbatim, again, just like the opening credits, it would sound okay, but it's not conversational. So if I did it like this, chapter 4, Ain't Talking About Brands. CD, I said 10 more seconds and I'm leaving. Wait a minute. What do you think I said? Roxanne, I thought you said earn more sessions by sleeving. Roxanne. Communication is a skill that takes practice to master. All right. So as you can see, you're just going through the motions. And I read that verbatim. Not very exciting. So to, again, alter the audiobook to make it a better experience for the listener, I just changed it a little bit, right? Added more of my personality, made it more conversational because, again, that keeps the listener engaged, right? So instead of doing it the way I just did, how about like this? Chapter 4. Or actually, you know what? Let's do it this way. Okay, got it. We'll do it this way. Chapter 4, Ain't Talking About Brands. The movie quote that opens this chapter is from the movie Roxanne. Or maybe I would just say the quote instead of saying movie quote because I kind of repeat myself. So I would probably change that and go, the quote that opens this chapter is from the movie Roxanne. Now, I didn't write that, okay? But for the listener, it just makes it so much more enjoyable. I don't know why that did that. Uh, it's just more enjoyable, more enjoyable. So let's do it this way. The quote comes from the movie Roxanne, and then do the quote. So I'm going to piece it all together so it makes sense. All right, let's look at the flow, because the flow of it is very, very important. All right. Chapter 4, ain't talking about brands, or I should say, ain't talking about brands. The quote that opens this chapter is from the movie Roxanne. CD. I said 10 more seconds and I'm leaving. Wait a minute. What'd you think I said? Roxanne. I thought you said earn more sessions by sleeving. And then I pause, and then I go into the book itself. Okay, so then you start the chapter. It's that simple. So even little alterations like that make the world of difference, because it makes it more conversational. All right. So again, chapter 4, ain't talking about brands. The quote that opens this chapter is from the movie Roxanne. Read the quote, pause, and then I go into the actual chapter. Communication is a skill that takes practice to master. Understanding the different components, on and on and on and on. So just a couple of examples of where you don't need to narrate your book so verbatim that it makes it stilted, that it makes it mechanical, that it makes it monotone, that it just takes the life out of it, because you're not putting your personality into it. Remember, you are an author brand. Your brand is everything that encompasses who you are, and you want to express that. Now, I guarantee you, in the book that you've written, you've already did it. You already put your unique stamp, your genuine authenticity of who you are, and your voice is in your written word. So when you're narrating your audiobook, you're just bringing it to life. You're bringing it to the table so people can actually hear you, hear how you talk, how you express yourself, how you just, again, bring out your sincerity, how you bring out your energy, how you bring out your emotion. And like I say, your authenticity is king. And I know a lot, and I've dealt with this with a lot of authors, and even with authors who sign in my program, like, well, I need to sound like this person, or I need to have a narrator because, they make it sound this and this and this and this. Now, there are great narrators. If you want a narrator, you get a professional narrator, that's fine. And yes, they will be great because they're professionals. This is what they do. So they will sound good on a technical level, okay? And I'll even use an analogy, like even for a musician, there are great musicians out there, great guitar shredders, or people who can play piano, do these crazy riffs or whatever. And that's great. That's great technical skill. But just like as a musician, and just like as an author, a narrator can do a great technical job, but what's missing is your emotion. Because what they're doing is that they are interpreting your book the way they see it, or maybe the way they feel it. And that may not jive with you. That may not be on the same plane as where you are emotionally about how you want to express yourself or how you want your story expressed. So as great as narrators are, and like I say, there's a lot of great narrators out there, they will do a great technical job, but maybe there are some subtleties about your story that you wouldn't say it that way. You wouldn't emphasize certain words or sentences or paragraphs even in the same way, because it's not getting the emotion across the way that you would have gotten the emotion across. And that's the key factor. The example that I've used in the past, and it's really a good one, because I worked with a couple of authors who their book was about going through a cancer journey. Now, another narrator, if they had another narrator do it, they may think where the emotion should be, but they didn't experience what the author experienced. And that is just a whole different deal, because it's not going to come across the way the author experienced it. And even I have two authors, for example, who share their cancer journey. Both cancer journeys are unique to them. It's not the same. the overall general bird's eye view picture is got cancer, went through the trials and tribulations of getting rid of it, and they came out beautiful on the other end, right? They conquered cancer, right? Great story, but that's the bird's eye view. But the actual journey is going to be different for every author. And again, that's where the narrator can't really can't connect to that energy because they didn't experience that. Okay. And like I say, every author, every cancer journey is different. Even if that narrator, that professional narrator went through a cancer journey, it's still their journey. So they may express things again how they felt, but it's not the way that you did. So that's the biggest thing. Nobody can express and tell your story better than you because you lived it. You experienced it. It's your story. Okay. Now, I'm going to just touch on this for just a second, because again, I'm not a big proponent when it comes to AI in regards to having AI narrate your audiobook. I mean, I think still, I believe Audible is still rejecting audiobooks that have done AI, though. I mean, obviously there are AI audio read books out there. But anyway, the point is, number one, you can tell it's AI. You still can. And even if you did some voice cloning or whatever, you're cutting corners, all right? You're cutting corners and you're letting some computer program, even if you do your voice cloning, right? They clone your voice. They're using the sound of a voice, something that sounds like you, but isn't you. And it's just twisting emotions, emotions, which is funny because there is no emotion in AI, but it's expressing it in a way that they're not going to, it just cannot relate to it. And it's not going to come across that way. And that's cutting corners. And you are an author brand. You are an entrepreneur. You run a business. You don't cut corners in your business because your business will fail. People don't want to hear something that's subpar. Your products need to be top of the line. Your ebook, your paperback, your hardcover, and especially your audiobook. Do the narration yourself, really. Do the narration yourself. That's number one. And again, when it comes to tips that you may not know of, the number one thing that I've found out, which is the number one thing that we talked about today, is you have the freedom to alter what you've written to make it a better audible experience for the listener. You want the listener to really enjoy your audiobook, and maybe changing the way things are said as opposed to how they are written are going to achieve that. And you have the freedom to do that. Now, if you need help recording and narrating your own audiobook, as you should, that's what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. Okay. There's links in the description, by the way. My calendar link is in there. Book a call. I'd love to speak with you, talk about your book, tell you more about what I do in my audiobook coaching program, which is called Your Book, Your Voice. You can go to my website, by the way. There are links. There are on the website, I should say, if you scroll down, there are clips of other authors who've gone through the program. You can hear how they did their narration. There's short clips, but I love them because they are so genuine. They're so authentic. They really represent everything that the author is about, and they do such a great job. And none of these authors are professional speakers or anything like that, but they did a fantastic narration. So don't think you can't do it, because you can. You definitely can. And if you need guidance, that's why I'm here, and that's why I do what I do. So book a call. Links are in the description. I'd love to hear from you. All right. And I'll even give you more details, and we'll get you enrolled. And guess what? It's only 12 weeks. 12 weeks from setting up and preparation to doing all your audiobook narration. And again, you have to have your audiobook edited. It has to be made sure that your specifications are met exactly for publication. And I do all that. That's part of the program. I do all the editing for you. I do all the uploading for publication for you, and all the platforms that you want to be on. You know, you do need to be on Audible, Amazon, and Apple. That's where most people go. But then there are other platforms that people want to be on. Oh, I want my audiobook on Spotify. I want my audiobook on Barnes & Noble. I want my audiobook on libraries. I want my audiobook on Rakuten. I want my audiobook on Tubi. I want my audiobook on Chirp. I want my audiobook, wherever it is. Okay. Yes, I will get you on those platforms as well. So reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. All right. If there's a topic, by the way, that you'd like me to cover on the podcast, I'd be happy to do that. Let me know. Just reach out to me. Again, go to robertlanecoaching.com and fill out the contact page, and I look forward to hearing from you. So finally, as we wrap things up, I do this with every podcast, but it's really crucial and important. And that is, when you're out and about in the world, my friends, smile at a stranger, say hello to them, give them a compliment, because that small gesture of kindness can make the world of difference in somebody's life. Be a life changer. You have the power. You can do this. All right. Yeah. You're all good people. I do appreciate you. Again, if you need help with your audiobook, reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. That's where it starts. Love what you do. Do what you love, right? You're an author. You're a published author, which means you're a professional, not a hobbyist. You are a professional. You are an author brand. So always remember to put the best quality product that you can out there when it comes to your author brand, especially your audiobook. You need to narrate your own audiobook, and you have all the tools and skills to do it. You just may need guidance, and that's why I'm here to help you. All right, this is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm Robert A. Lane. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be talking to you on the next edition of the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Take care.
This has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode. And remember, only you can narrate your story the way it's meant to be heard.